Hello, it's Wednesday at noon, so here we are for live. And today I want to talk about staying motivated and staying accountable. This is going to be a little bit similar to what we did last week because I did promise to talk about feedback, but we have a whole bunch of things. So when you're feeling demotivated, it's really hard to just sit down and write because you have other things you could be doing, like making tea or coffee or petting your cat. And you have other things that are easier to do, like, putting that thing in the envelope and mailing it. Or you have things that feel really urgent to do that distract you from your writing. And so it's really hard sometimes to stay focused and writing, and especially when a project is big and large and challenging. So that's what I want to talk about today. How do we stay in the project in a way that's motivating, and how do we stay accountable to the project, to ourselves, to our readers? I want to start by talking about Seth Godin and the idea he espoused called The Dip. He also wrote a book called The Dip. It's this short little book, maybe 65 pages. So, if you're interested, go grab it. So I just want to give you a kind of a simple idea of what it is. You get into this long project, this challenging project, this important project. And at first it's like, woo, I love this. This is great. I'm going to write this book and it's going to be all wonderful. And then you're a few chapters in or a few weeks in, and then all of a sudden it starts going down and it gets harder and harder and harder, or maybe monotonous and challenging and difficult, and you don't want to do it. And there you're in the dip. How do you get out of the dip? So what Seth says is, you could quit, right? So quitting is really very much a short-term strategy to get away from short-term or temporary pain. So you could do that. You could quit. But then if you quit, and if you give in to this short-term pain and you use a short-term strategy like quitting, you are taking away the opportunity to do the extraordinary. You are taking away your opportunity to give something to the world, namely this book you're writing. You're taking away the opportunity for these readers to hear the message, that really important message that you have that they will benefit from. So that short-term quitting is really actually quite harmful to that long-term extraordinary you that we want to bring out. So what do? Here are 10 ideas. And some of these you're going to see that they relate to other things we've talked about. So the first one is remember your why. I did an entire video. In fact, the very first video in this series was about your why. You didn't wake up one day and go, I have nothing better to do. I'm going to write a book. You have a reason, a deep reason that is incredibly meaningful to you to write this book. So what is it? When things start getting tough, just go back to that why and say, why am I here? Remind yourself of that. And then if you remember week 2, if you've been following along, week 2, we talked about your readers. And that's number 2 for me as well here. Go back to your readers. They need this message. They need you to help them through something. They need information from you. They need that message from you. You are helping people. You are changing people. So don't give up to that short-term pain. Keep pushing through because they are depending on you. That is number 2. Number 3, fall back on your practice. We talked about this as well. One of the things that professionals do, professional writers included, is they have a practice. They have routines, they have rituals, they have a rhythm, and they know what it is. And they create this professional practice where they get to sit down every day and do what it is, do the work that matters. So develop your practice, right? And next, yes, remind yourself that writing is a skill, not a talent. And this is so important because I've heard, oh, you don't have the talent for writing, or I don't have the talent for writing. My grade 9 teacher told me so. No, actually, writing, and I'm not saying that there's no such thing as talent. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is writing is a skill you can develop. And the more you do it, the better you will be at it. And often the less painful it becomes. So practicing writing is going to help you become a better writer. So remind yourself that it's a skill. It's something you want to work on. And again, yes, there are people who are talented. There are people who are talented in lots of arenas, but talented people who don't build the skill don't get anywhere. Having talent and sitting on the sofa and watching television doesn't make you a writer or a basketball star or anything at all. It's not the people with talent that succeed. It's the people who put in the work to develop the skill. The people who have talent have a little bit of a head start maybe, but it's the people who put in the work. So remind yourself that writing is a skill that you can develop if you practice. Next one, stay accountable. And we talked about this in the last video in sense of, join writing groups, get a writing coach, get an accountability partner, get people to kind of support the process. As a writing coach, sometimes I work with an author over a long period of time, and that's great. But sometimes if you're in that dip, you can find a writing coach or a friend. You don't have to pay someone. It can just be a friend to kind of do some coaching, to kind of coach you through. It's like, I'm really stuck on chapter 5. I just can't do it. I just want to throw in the towel. I want to stop, and get your colleague who's curious and asks its questions and understands things to like interview you through that, to help you out of the dip. Join a writers group and get them to help you be accountable and help you kind of push through and cheerlead you. Which brings me to celebrating your successes. This is something that I don't see people do enough of. There's so many people who are like, well, it's my job. I joke, it's my job. Nobody should thank me. It doesn't matter. So I live in Vancouver, Canada, and I don't know where you live, but in Vancouver, Canada, believe it or not, we say thank you to our bus drivers a lot. In fact, we're kind of known for that. If you're from somewhere else and you visited us, we say thank you to our bus drivers. And I've had someone say to me, why do you say thank you to the bus driver? It's his job. It's like, wow, really? We need to celebrate everyone. We need to show appreciation. We need to be thankful. We need to celebrate, because that is so motivating when you feel appreciated and you're everything is celebrated. So each time you finish a section or a chapter or something, celebrate that success with people who care about you. Next, where is it? Post your word count. Little sticky like this. Every day, write your word count, take a photograph of it, put it on Instagram, tag me, author at Author Nation Tube, and I would love to see it. Or put it in the Author Nation Facebook group saying, hey, I'm going to start putting my words up every day. Anyone else who wants that accountability can follow along and put their pics up in the comments. And just very simple. And each day you'll see more and more people. People will go, yay, good for you, well done. People get it. People who've written books understand that. So feel free to take a sticky note, and you can, do a selfie, or if you don't like selfies, you can just take a picture of the sticky note with the word count on it and put it in the Facebook group, or put it on your Instagram, or text it to a friend, somebody who will celebrate with you and be proud of you. Okay. And then next, and this is advice as a writing coach that I give authors, stop writing and start playing. Think of writing as play. Have you ever seen children? They're just, they learn how to write and they're like, I'm going to write a story. There's a boy. He went to the woods. And they're not thinking about, taking myself seriously. And I have to get this story about this boy in this forest. Right. They're playing. So think of writing as play. And if you need help, I have lots of tools that I work with people on, but I'll just give you one. If you keep taking yourself seriously and you're getting bogged down into it and you're in the dip and you really need to get out of it, start writing with crayon. Get a big piece of blank paper and start writing with crayon. Try to take yourself seriously while you're writing with crayon. I bet you can't do it. So on the serious side, so that's writing as play, and that's really important. But on the serious side, there's also making that contract with yourself and with the world and setting deadlines. So announce to the world, my book will come out in January 2022. Are we in 2021? Wow. January 2022, my book will come out, and then you have a deadline. And so set yourself up all those timelines and deadlines when things have to happen. And as a professional, stick to it, right? So play and also set yourself up some deadlines. Both work. And the last one I want to talk about is feedback as motivation. And last week, I promised to talk about feedback because I think it's really, really important. I want to talk about what it is, how to ask for it, when not to get feedback, who to get feedback from. And so Feedback can come in many forms. For example, it can be a response or it can be an evaluation. And those are two different types of feedback. So let's just focus on those. So when you're asking for feedback, be very specific about who you're asking and what you're asking for. So a response is, how somebody felt about a piece of writing, or it's like, that made me think of this, or I had this follow-up question, or it's not an evaluation of the content or the writing. It's just a response, a personal, hey, this brought this for me. Responses are great. An evaluation, on the other hand, is looking at the structure and the content and the language and the grammar and telling you good or bad or da, da, da. So when it comes to evaluation, leave that to compassionate professionals. You notice I say compassionate professionals, not just anyone. You've been to those writing conferences where somebody goes to this famous person who's just come off stage and told everyone everything they know. And then they ask, look at my writing. You'll never be a writer. You're a terrible writer. You have no talent. And they hand it back and you're crushed. So as far as I'm concerned, people like that have no place in the world of writing and publishing, because writing, as I said earlier, is a skill, not a talent. So stay away from people who are nothing but critical. So evaluation should be left to the professionals, compassionate professionals who care about you, who care about your book, and are here to make your book the best product it can be and to help you improve your writing as a skill. So feedback is really important. So who are you going to ask and what are you going to ask for? So you can ask readers, beta readers, people who would want to buy the book. Ask them and ask them, don't ask them to evaluate, ask them for a response. Hey, you read chapter 1. Did you have questions? What was your favorite part? Was it something that made you think of? Was this a story of your own that kind of related to this? Just ask them for a response. Get them just to respond from the heart, from the head. Just get them to respond. Same with other authors. Get them to respond. So here's this chapter. Can you read it for me? So in this chapter, this particular concept, I found it really hard to explain. Did you get it? And if you were to explain it as an author, how would you explain it? Because they're authors and there are 100 ways to say the same thing. So let a couple of different authors tell you how they would say it. And then you can kind of pick those up and then rewrite it in your own voice based on that feedback, not on that evaluation. And then editors, professional, compassionate editors, let them evaluate your structure, your content, your language, the grammar, not to say good or bad, not evaluation in that sense, but here, I think we can improve this in this way. Here, I think that I can help your writing, improve your writing by helping you do this. So that is about feedback, because I do not ascribe to the motivation through punishment or humiliation. In fact, studies say that people who use kind of punishment or humiliation, embarrassment, or all that kind of negative stuff to motivate people, all they're doing is harming people. It is hurtful. So do not do that to yourself, and do not let other people do that to you either. Look for people who are going to champion you, to celebrate with you, to cheerlead you on. So those are the 10 ways. And remember, if you're looking for feedback, think about who you're asking and what you're asking for, because I know you need to protect your heart as a writer, because I know that authors don't just put their ideas on the line, they put their entire hearts on the line. So that's it for today. Those are 10 ways to help you get out of the dip and back to motivation. Some are on your own, some are others, some relate to other videos I've done. I'll put the links in the description. We have 5 more weeks of this series left. And next week, I'm going to be talking about telling stories that teach, inserting story in your nonfiction book to help your readers. It's one of my favorite topics. So you don't miss it, please subscribe. And if you have any comments about today's video, I would love to see them. And I will see you all next week.